Okay, thank you. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting. As we move forward, we're going to go to, do we have any awards, presentations, and communications, Dr. Salko?
We do not.
Thank you. Any audience participation? I think there's none as well. Okay, we're moving right along real fast. We're going to roll down to our number 4 item of the agenda, which is our consent agenda, 4.01. Board, are there any questions or comments? Or you had an opportunity to read your consent agenda items, and we're going to go ahead and ask for a motion for our consent agenda items, please.
I move for our consent agenda items.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Patterson and second by Mr. Tench. Questions or comments? If none, please call the roll, please.
Mr. Tench?
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy?
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, board. Okay. Superintendent's report, number 5, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. I do have 2 items, actually. The first is I would like to introduce to you, I know you all had a chance to review his credentials and in the consent agenda, that you were able to just approve Mr. Cameron Terrell, who is on the screen, and he is going to be our new Dean of Students at Glendale. And ironically, Mr. Terrell is in my Cleveland State class as well, but I did not really know him prior to with the virtual learning. I met him once online, that was about it, and then just online ever since. So, but he is a teacher currently at in East Cleveland, teaches social studies. So he's eager to learn, to work with our younger students. He is, as I said, in a program at Cleveland State, so he's working on his administrative license. He'll have that, I believe they finish in December. So we are pleased to have him with us. And Mr. Terrell, if you would like to say a few words to the board.
Good evening. How's everybody doing today? As Dr. Silico said, yes, I am a student in her program at Cleveland State University. Just want to say it's an honor and privilege to have been hired by Bedford City School District, and I am eager to be a big part of the team and do all I can for the students of Glendale Primary School.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything from the board?
Well, welcome to Bedford, and do you have any green shirts? You have to get some.
Any other comments?
No, welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Terrell, for joining us. I appreciate you joining in, and we'll be in touch very soon. So we have plenty of work to do. All right, thank you. I'm going to continue. The other thing that I want to talk about briefly. We met today. I want to give you an update, and then I want to ask for some of your guidance. So today we met for 2 hours with our administrative team relative to the fall, and I put out an email to the staff today. I will be doing so early next week to parents, just to touch base with them, provide them an update. But one of the things that we discussed, and I had mentioned before to the board, we talked about the notion of potentially starting after Labor Day. So from the last meeting to this meeting, I did have a chance to speak with the union, teachers union president, and I'm not sure, we talked a lot about it. I'm not sure that it was decided if that was a good idea. She had asked, several questions as to why we would want to delay the start. And as a reminder, we would be pushing back 2 weeks. So one of the things that we're exploring is perhaps having the teachers start when they were originally going to start, and front-loading the year with professional development. We recognize we have numerous topics that we want to address, one being the online learning and supports, because we feel that this is going to be a hybrid of some sort, though that has not been decided or recommended to the board, of course. So we wanted to look at different ways in which we could help them, assist teachers with virtual instruction. We need to take time to train parents. We also want to do some work with cultural sensitivity in light of all of what's going on in the world with social injustices that we believe are relevant in the classroom, and how we can better assist our students and support them as well as our staffs in having these difficult conversations. And we had some other co-teaching already scheduled, some co-teaching to co-serve along with our equity work. That's a 2 full day, 1 and if not 2 days, in which I know the woman's coming on campus 2 days. So we had her planned. So we're trying to figure out if we can get her to change her dates to the following week. If not, we might have to have the teacher still come in on the 19th, 20th, and maybe fool around with a couple of the days where they could be off before the students come, which again would be after Labor Day. So really it would be a lot of upfront work with the teachers. We have a number of topics. I named a few, but we have more that we certainly can do with teachers. And then carve out some time during the year, a little bit, maybe a day or two here, maybe move some of their comp days for conferences to the end of the school year. That way we can pick up a couple more days for students. But the one concern they had was that, and when we talked about it the last time, that it was the end of June, that they would be out like June 21st, 22nd, and the teachers, at least the representative that I spoke with, the president, was not fond of that. So what I found, I got my hands on some other calendars of other districts, and they are managing to start after Labor Day and ending at the beginning of June. Now we can actually, not the first, maybe the second week in June, and I think there's a way for us to do that. It would decrease the number of days for our students, but we also have a number of more days than some of the other districts. Some of them have longer days though, some of them do not. But I think there's a way in which we can make this work. Again, decreasing a couple days, but trying to pick up a couple during the year. So I'm not prepared to give you an example right now. I just wanted to plant the seed, let you know sort of what the results of our conversation was. I did play around with it today because we had met again this afternoon, late this afternoon. So obviously I'm not prepared. Colleen's the one who takes this and she's not in today. Take my chicken scratch and put it in with numbers and counting up the days of instruction. So we would also be just cutting into our calamity a little bit. But in light of what's happening, we believe we can still, if we had calamity days, for example, we could still handle that because we're doing virtual learning anyway. So instead of having a calamity day, it would be a student day that everybody works from home. So we wouldn't call it a calamity day. It would be provided with online instruction. So that's another way we can kind of soften the loss of days, because we know every year we get some number of calamity days. I shouldn't say every year, but generally we do. It could be multiple that we've had. So that's one of the things we are working on. The one challenge that we know is the calendar itself, and meaning time in terms of when we make this recommendation to you, we have to put it on the board agenda for 30 days. I know you all recall we talked about that before. So we don't have a meeting till July 9th. That gets us to August, 9th or so. So we just want to try to wrap this up before our next meeting and make a recommendation to you, so we can get those 30 days in. And when I'm communicating with parents, as I will next week, sort of let them know where we're at, what we're thinking. And I don't think it's going to come much as a surprise because it's all over the news about starting after Labor Day. I think parents are kind of prepped for that, but I'd like to give them some advance notice. But I'm curious as to your thoughts, if that's a direction you want me to continue down, or if there's anything else you want me to explore.
My question is, do they still have that week off for Thanksgiving or no?
No,
Okay, they decided not to.
that would have been a good time to look at.
Right, yeah, okay. All right.
It is. It's that Wednesday, and I'm toying with that. That is a conference comp day. I was toying with keeping that in as an instructional day on Wednesday and moving their comp day, as I said, into June. So that's what. So again, as a reminder that the teachers have the 3 conference days, and so as a result, they get 2 comp days, if you will. And so we usually embed them in the school year. We attach them to breaks, so they're not an inconvenience for parents. But what we could do is take those days, one or both, and move it to the end of the school year, and so that the teachers would end a couple days earlier. It wouldn't affect the students though.
But the student instruction will be, is it 190 days?
So our teachers are 186, the students are 176. What we would get down to is maybe 167, 168 days.
Why would we want to cut? I mean, what does the state say? How many days or how many hours what did the state say about the instructional time?
1,001 for grades 7 through 12 and 910 for elementary.
And that calculates into how many
Mhm.
days?
About the 166, 167.
So we're just gonna give them the minimal number of days.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I'd like to cushion it with a couple more, honestly. I'm trying to get to 170 at least. But it's a challenge because I'm looking at other calendars because I'm thinking, how are they doing this? The way some of them are, and they're pretty much around the same.
Well, when you had the conversation with the union, did you stress that how everyone has to be flexible during this time? They really do. We all
Yeah.
have to be flexible.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a trying time. And I think they were willing to work with some of that flexibility within, with breaks, and I have to go back to the table with them, honestly, because I met with them, then I met with our team, now I'll meet with them again. But I think they were willing to also entertain, maybe some of the breaks, lengthening or shortening some of them, Christmas and spring break, looking at days to get some more days to recover, more days for the students. I know that the union president shared with me that she shared with teachers to not, don't go ahead and making all these plans because things could change with the calendar. So I appreciated that. She planted the seed that there might be some changes.
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Selico? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Selico.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So in line with this, what I was going to suggest and ask the board, again, as we met, we discussed the plan. The recommendation has come to me from Mr. Zagrabek and Dr. Johnson in each of their committees, and they went by grade bands. So they went through all the recommendations of what school would look like, and it's looking like it's recommended that we do a hybrid, that we can get students in school a couple days a week. But with that said, and without giving all the details, I would appreciate some time to not just have you read it, but for me to present or members of my staff present to you our recommendations once they're firmed up. And I'm hoping, they said by next week, we'll see, we keep hearing this, we'll know more from the governor. The sticking point for us right now is busing. That's one of them, obviously, but we've gone ahead. John has assured us, he went through his whole lot of things they're doing in terms of signage and plexiglass and marking, all the principals. I asked them to all go through and measure their classrooms with their custodians to see how many students we could fit. And it ranged from 9 to 13 in a classroom, to be very honest, with the 6 feet. So we would like to go over that plan. I can't say for sure, and this is where I ask for a little grace, because things are changing either at the July 9th or the 23rd meeting. I would prefer it be the 9th if we can get everything in order. We're pretty close to it. It's just that we have to wait for the governor's response, and then we'd like to present to you what we're thinking for some feedback and some guidance as we move forward and communicate to parents. So
If it's after the 9th, you just can call, the president can call a special meeting.
and that's the other thing I was maybe hoping if that we come to that. Yeah, I mean, this is, as we said, special circumstances, and
Like you said, we have to be flexible.
yeah. So that was it. I just wanted to keep you up to speed. Thank you.
Anything else for Dr. Selico? Okay. Okay, well, like I said, this was a pretty short agenda, and we're down to our sixth item, which is our executive session. So before we go into executive session, I'd like to make a comment that regarding our we had a retreat yesterday, and I thought it was a very productive retreat. And I want to thank everyone for attending and just letting the public knows, if anyone's out there, that it was a great thing. It's always good for boards and superintendents to get together and be able to understand the board norms and just the governance, and just reminding us that what our roles and purposes, and just overall in general. So once again, I thought it was a productive meeting, and a retreat, that is. And I think that we learned a lot from it. So I want to thank everyone for participating and being a part of it. Okay. Hopefully we can do it again. Hopefully we can do it again. Exactly. Okay. At this time, we're going to go into executive session. So can I get a motion, please, from someone to read the information for the executive session?
make a motion to go into executive session to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tinch and second by Mr. Kennedy to go into executive session. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy,
Aye.
Mr. Tench,
All right.
Mrs. Boynton,
Aye.
Mr. Stevens.
Aye. Okay, we're going to go into executive session at 6:16.
So Mr. Terrell, if you can hear me, we're